daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Daily Premier League podcast. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of September. My name's Ken Davis. His name is Nick Britton. And a very warm welcome to you, Nick. And a very warm welcome to listeners who make the Daily Premier League podcast part of their daily routine. How's it going, Nick? You've had a busy day. It's late in the evening.
I've had a busy day. I've been in London all day working, and then a couple of hours journey home and straight onto this podcast. I see we're both wearing white t-shirts tonight. It's the night of white.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've got a Derby County on. Right, we always mention in the podcast that you can reach us at Daily Premier League Podcast at gmail.com and send us your letters in. And you know what? People actually do. So we get quite a few, actually. And what I thought might be useful to do, as we are kind of just in getting over the transfer window, we're going to talk about the transfer window a bit later. But there's a couple of really interesting emails came in, which I thought might be a good way to kick off the show. Two questions. First one we'll deal with, then we'll get the second one. First one is from James in Telford, who's a Villa fan. He said, "Why have Villa got off to such a poor start?" Thoughts, Nick?
Well, if you look at where they were at the back end of last season, their striking options included Asensio, who had a good loan spell, very good loan spell for him, and Rashford, who also had a good loan spell for them. They both left and weren't replaced. So one of the reasons are that they've got off to a sticky start is because they've lost the majority of their firepower up front. They've also lost one of their most creative players in Jacob Ramsey, who's gone to Newcastle, and there has been a shadow hanging over the goalkeeper Emilio Martinez, who of course didn't feature in the squad for the defeat against Crystal Palace last time out because it was expected that he was going to move to Manchester United. Now, that deal never happened, so he's not gone anywhere else, so he's going to have to be reintegrated to the Manchester United squad. So they've lost some key players, and up until the very last moment in the transfer window, hadn't really made many moves to replace them. That's one reason. Another reason, tactically, is that Unai Emery has been playing, I think, players out of position. So John McGinn's been playing out wide. Now he can do a job there, but he's much more effective through the middle. Players like Luca Digne, who last year and the year before were willing to get forward, haven't really been getting forward. So there hasn't been much of an attacking threat. That's the second reason. And the last reason is Villa have become quite an easy team to play against, I think. If you play football up against them and go at them, they have the capability to damage you at the back. But I think what teams have found out, and Brentford did it very successfully the other day, is that if you stifle them, they don't really know what to do. They don't have the creativity to get out of it. So I think if you bundle all of those things together, that's probably why they've struggled in the very early part of the season. But look, we're only 3 games in. They have, I think, done pretty well in the transfer market by bringing in some players right at the end. Certainly Jadon Sancho. If Unai Emery can get a tune out of him, will be a good addition. Harvey Elliott, I think, is a very, very good loan signing. Yeah. And one or two of them made earlier. So I wouldn't panic if I was a Villa fan. Unai Emery is a very, very good coach. He normally gets them out of the blips that they tend to suffer at any start of the season. But I think there's a good indication of just why they've had such a slow start. Yeah,
I think you've encapsulated all the key points there. There's a couple of other things just to mention, I think. I've always had a slight feeling that Villa were overachieving anyway, in the sense, I think when Emery took over, they were really struggling. They were really down in the depths of the Premier League. He's definitely done an amazing job, and that's why he's held in such high regard, I think, at Villa. But I do think that he's maybe they've slightly overachieved in the course of the last couple of seasons. I think what we're going to see is a revert back to actually where they probably are, which is like an 11th or 12th position team. Seen him a couple of times obviously this season. They really lack penetration. They lack any kind of creativity. They seem to lack a bit of urgency. I think that the way the players portray themselves, if you like, their physical presence, they just look a slightly dispirited outfit. Now, I don't know whether that's something to do with what's been going on in the transfer window and things like that, but they just look like a team that is just feeling a bit sorry for themselves. And just looking at the next 3 games, which, will take us 6 games in, they've got Everton away, tricky game. Sunderland away, and then Fulham at home. And we know Sunderland away is not an easy fixture, but maybe, just maybe, they're going to get a little bit more freedom to express themselves because they're the away team. So it might help them. But, I wouldn't be at all surprised out of those 3 games they don't walk away with more than 4 points. They haven't scored a goal this season. We need to say that. They haven't scored a goal. They've had a lot of shots on goal, but their XG is really low as well. So the shots have been a bit speculative rather than real gilt-edged chances. They're not creating enough chances. They haven't scored. They've got 3 tough games to come. I think they could be looking at 5 points after 6 games. And things will start to look a bit worrying at Villa.
And don't forget they've got a Europa League campaign to play in as well. But look, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. They've got to get Morgan Rogers playing a little better.
Yeah.
Suggestion that he's been feeling a bit, well, to use your phrase, sorry for himself since his best mate Jacob Ramsey went.
Yeah.
And you're right. It just feels like it needs an injection of energy. And hopefully, on Villa's point of view, Elliott and Sancho will bring that.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Second question that was in the postbag was from Simon in London, who said, which of the London teams were finished highest? Now, I'm going to slightly extend that question because there are 7 London teams in the Premier League. I'd like Nick's order of where they're going to finish at the end of the season. I'll give you mine after that. I hope it's not the same, but it probably will be fairly close. So all the 7 teams. So just to remind everyone, we're talking about Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, Palace, Brentford, West Ham and Fulham. So, Nick, what's your finishing order of the little London Premier League?
I think it would be absolutely astonishing if we didn't get broadly the same, because unless I start by going, I think West Ham are going to finish the top of the London sides. I think it's reasonably.
They look good. They look good last weekend, though.
Yeah. Okay, then. Right. Well, I think Arsenal are going to finish top of the pile.
Yeah.
Because I think they are the best London side. I think Chelsea will finish next.
Yeah.
I'm yet to get going, but I'm not convinced about their transfer activity. It's all a bit weird. But, I think they'll finish next. I'm going to go for the next best London team being Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Then Tottenham.
Yeah.
Then Fulham.
Yeah.
And then it's a bit of a toss-up between Brentford and West Ham, to be honest. I mean, you could argue either way. I'll go for Brentford, then West Ham. Okay,
that's not that far away from me. I had Arsenal, Chelsea 1 and 2, which you did. I had Palace and Spurs the other way around. I think Spurs actually have got a chance of having a decent season this year. Palace just continue to amaze. They just got to keep hold of the boss. They just got to keep hold of the manager.
There was a lot of talk. Yeah, there was a lot of talk, wasn't there? That there was lots of rumours circling around that if Gahey signed for Liverpool, he was out.
Yeah, there was.
It was essentially me or him kind of thing. Now Gahey has stayed at Palace, and the chairman, Steve Parish, backed the manager, Oliver Glasner, so he should stay because he kind of did that deal, didn't he?
My impression that Liverpool are going to go straight back in January for Gahey.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
and then
Gahey's going to end up.
But I don't think Glasner will go in January. I think he was going to go kind of now after if Gahey had gone to Liverpool. So there's justification for saying Spurs will finish above Palace. They've got a lot of ground to make up. I think. I just think Spurs are. They had a good couple of first games, but they were terrible against Bournemouth. They really were poor. So obviously not all the problems have been solved there yet, and I think there's still a good deal of betting in before he gets it right. But yeah, listen, that's fine.
Yeah, I think Spurs are very, very inconsistent. You often find that with teams who are actually improving, they're very inconsistent. But I think Spurs are improving. I had Fulham fifth, same as you. I had West Ham finishing above Brentford. I think both of those are.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, you can't split them with a fake paper. You can't have a fake paper. It's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Who knows?
Indeed. So, as we know, in football, it pays to get your team selection right. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner, and we chose Zencastr, because Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life, share it with your audience wherever they may be. It's got 4K video recording, very easy AI editing tools, and top-tier distribution, all in one place. So if you've got a story to tell it with Zencastr. Check the show notes for more details.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Right. Second part of the show. Things moving quickly. We're going to move back to just dwell on another aspect of the transfer window, but we're going to focus on an interesting aspect of this, which I think is to focus on the promoted teams. So we're talking about Sunderland, Leeds United and Burnley. All spent significantly in the transfer window. Question I've got for you, Nick, is which of the promoted teams had the best transfer window and which of them had the worst transfer window, and therefore we'll work out who's in the middle.
Well, on paper, you've got to say Sunderland have had the best one because they've got off to the best start out of the three. They've spent the most. They spent £161.7 million and they bought in 15 players. Now, compare that to Leeds, who are the next biggest spenders. They spent £110 million on 12 players, and Burnley spent around £100 million and bought in 14 players. So they've all bolstered their squads massively. It's difficult to know. I mean, interesting about Sunderland, with all the money and players they brought in, the two players who have really caught the eye this season so far are the two players who were there last year.
Yep.
And that's Isidore up front and Dan Ballard in centre of defence, who obviously got a bit of injury the other day, but they're the two players that stood out in the first couple of games. It's a difficult one to say because there's a danger in bringing 15 players in, which is what Ipswich found last year. And they bought in loads of players. They spent 120, 130 million pounds at the off and just couldn't really gel and ended up getting relegated again. But the difference there is that Ipswich brought in a load of players from the Championship.
Yeah.
So they were Championship-ready players. These guys, some of them have gone abroad. They haven't spent ludicrous money on one player. 30 million is the most they spent on Diarra in midfield. They have bought across the teams. They bought defenders, midfielders, wingers, strikers. So they have strengthened right across the board. And they've averaged, looking at it now, around £20 million per player. It's always a gamble, isn't it? Mm. Do you bring in loads of players who are okay, or do you spend all your money on one player who's going to be amazing? It's so difficult to know what to do.
I think,
but I like Sunderland because I think they've gelled quicker. I think they've got a really good coach, and I think out of the three teams, we've said this before, out of the three teams, I think they've got the biggest chance of staying up because I think they play good football, and they've already learned in the first three games where the back of the net is, and that's absolutely critical. Now, Leeds. Let me go on to Burnley, actually. Let me go on to Burnley because they're probably they are the bookies' favourites to go straight back down. Carl Walker, they haven't spent, they spent £5 million on Carl Walker, £12 million on Chowner, but then they spent £43 million on two Chelsea players. And I always worry when you buy Chelsea players because they cost a lot and they're invariably not very good. And, Brozier for £20 million doesn't feel like a good buy to me.
Yeah.
Ugo Chukwu at 23 million is probably a better buy than Brozier. But again, it's a bit of a gamble. But actually, I'm going to, and I'm still going to argue, that they potentially have had a better transfer window than Leeds. Because Leeds have bought in 12 players for £110 million. And they bought in, over the course of the window, they bought in a lot of players. So 12 players, as I say. But only three of those are attacking players, and they ain't got any strikers. So two players they brought in out of the 12, they've got in on a free, and that is, of course, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Checha. So to me, their problem was always going to be scoring goals, and I don't think they've addressed that problem.
It's an interesting.
Okay, Calvert-Lewin's a good signing on the face of it, but he's not a good signing in terms of are you going to rely on him to score you the goals to keep you up? Because A, I don't think he's got it in his locker, and B, his injury record is horrendous. So are you going to get 38 games out of him anyway?
Yeah, it's good analysis. That wouldn't disagree with too much of that. I really like the way Sunderland are going about their business. Kirill Louis-Dreyfus is obviously the chairman, a very, very young guy, but really, really pretty inspirational fella. They brought in a new director of football as well. It seems to have given them a real, I think, clarity of purpose in terms of what they're trying to do. The other thing I really like about Sunderland is the fact that when you look at the players they've brought experience. Granit Xhaka. I mean, I think we're going to come to this later, but I think that's a great signing.
I agree.
12 million. I mean, that's good business. So Granit Xhaka, I think it's going to be a great acquisition. So you've got your building experience, but he's also brought in a lot of youth, a lot of pace, a lot of energy. So I just love the balance of what they've done. So I think Sunderland have had a really good window. And I know, talking to Sunderland fans, they're very bullish about it, and rightly so. They've broken all kinds of records in terms of expenditure, and I think they've gone about their business in exactly the right way. Burnley slightly different. Yeah, I've got a question about Kyle Walker as well, but they brought in Dubravka, haven't they? The goalkeeper. Was it Newcastle, wasn't he, I think, for what?
He was, yes, he was.
A decent keeper.
He's a good keeper. He'll do a good job for them, by the way. That is a good signing, yeah. That is a good signing.
Yeah. Fiorenzo Luis, who they brought in midfield, highly rated in Portugal. So I think they've done okay. Yeah, I'm with you on Leeds. I've never been convinced about Calvert-Lewin. I mean, he scores goals in bursts, but he played in a poor Everton team. I think he's going to be playing in a poor Leeds team. I just don't think he's going to get the service. And I think ultimately, I think of the three, I would put it in Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds. And sounds like you agree with that.
Very much so.
Okie dokie. Right. Well, the Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, and they are the world's most personalised supplements because your body is unique. And without knowing what deficiencies you have, taking off-the-shelf supplements mean you're either not getting enough of the nutrients you need or maybe too many of the things you don't need. So Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what the body needs, and there's no guessing involved. So click the link in the show notes, use the code GSPN 2025. You'll get 40% off your first order.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Right, final thing of today's show. Just as we wrap up things really transfer window wise, we're going to be moving on to other things over the course of the next few days. I thought it might be entertaining to get two things out of you, Nick, and I'll supply the same. Who do you think will be, ultimately, when the dust is settled, when we look back on this at the end of the season, who do you think will be considered the bargain of the century in this transfer window? And who will be considered the did you keep the receipt of this transfer window?
Well, I've got two of each. Two players who I think are really good acquisitions for their clubs. And they're both loans, actually. One is Harvey Elliott to Aston Villa, who I think is exactly the sort of team they need. I feel sorry for Harvey Elliott because I think he's such a good player. He starred for the under-21s for England in the summer. Can't get anywhere near the Liverpool team apart from the odd sub appearance here or there. Yeah. Now, I know that's the way Liverpool's set up, etc. That's fine. So I think he'll thrive. I think he'll thrive at Villa.
Yeah.
And I think to get him on a loan with a option to buy is a brilliant deal for Villa. And I think he's just the player they need. We talked about their kind of they'll feel a bit sorry for themselves and need a big G up. I think he's exactly the man to do it. Really, really good, tough, competent midfield, scores goals, he's just a very, very good player. And the other player who I think is going to turn out to be an inspired signing is Jack Grealish at Everton. I think Grealish is a great acquisition for Everton and is already really ripping it up. And he has lifted Everton already, and has been the sort of best player, the man of the match for 2 out of 3 games they played. So I think he will really he looks happy. He looks like a little bit like the old Grealish that was at Aston Villa before he went to Man City. Long may it continue, because it's given Everton a real boost, and it's helped them significantly have a much better start to the season than perhaps they were expecting. And then on the bench of good signings, I've got Granit Xhaka, who I think is an excellent signing for Sunderland, and we've just talked about him.
Yeah, and he's on mine, and Grealish is on mine as well. I never say this because I've never been Grealish's number one fan, but to be honest, Grealish was used in a very, very limited way, I think, at City. He's got some freedom to express himself, and I think he's doing, and he is doing, and he will continue to do a great job for Everton. Probably one for the fantasy football leagues. The two I've got, we've mentioned one, Granit Xhaka. I think £12 million for Xhaka. Some of that experience, so just someone with that nous, someone with a bit of a wand of a right foot. I think he's going to be just extremely useful to Sunderland. He's got to pull a lot of strings, and they are going to look back on that very fondly at the end of the season. The other guy, just to pick out, I think who is going to have a big season, is Rayan Cherki, who went from Lyon to Man City, 32 million. 32 million is suddenly loose change in the Premier League. That was right at the start of the window. Fantastic technical ability, 22 years of age. Obviously, it's early days. He hasn't had the greatest of starts, but he's just got such skills. I think he's going to be a massive player. So I think 32 million for Cherki will turn out to be absolutely fantastic business. So they are mine. So if they're the stars, if they're the ones that we're all going to be celebrating in a 6 months, 9 months time, who are the ones we're going to look back on and think, why? Just why?
Well, I pulled out 2 transfer turkeys for you. The first one, and I've mentioned him already, and I just don't really get this particularly, and that is Armando Broja. Now, moved from Chelsea to Burnley. Burnley will be in desperate need of goals to stay up. So if you are in desperate need of goals, you don't necessarily spend £20 million on a player who in the last 3 seasons has scored 3 goals in 58 games.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't understand really what value he's going to bring to a team like Burnley. He's had loan spells at Everton. He's had a loan spell at Fulham. Didn't pull up any trees in either of those. So what makes Burnley think he's suddenly going to get him 15 goals?
Yeah.
And fire them to Premier League safety?
And
don't get it.
Burnley isn't London, is it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He'll get fed up there. It'll be raining. Even by this time of year, it'll be raining. It'll be cold.
Imagine him on a December the 11th trotting out Turf Moor. He won't fancy that, will he?
Yeah. And my second one, who I think I just don't really get it, and that's Alexandre Garnacho, £40 million. Why are Chelsea buying him? Why do they need him? Chelsea have got ridiculous amount of players. Why do they need him? I know they've sold Nkunku to wherever he's gone. I can't think off the top of my head. He's gone abroad somewhere, and Delap is injured, but Delap's not a winger. I don't really get what Chelsea just buy loads and loads of players. And then don't really know what to do with him. And Garnacho's just trouble. He was pretty poor at Man United. He's been doing stuff on social media which hasn't warmed him to anybody. It just strikes me as a player who thinks he's much better than he is. And I just don't see him featuring at Chelsea much.
No.
And there you go. I mean, obviously, he could take the place, I suppose, of Jackson, who's finally went to Bayern. I don't know.
I can't see that.
I just don't think he's particularly good. And he wasn't good in a rubbish Man United team. So how good is he going to be in a much better Chelsea?
Sometimes players thrive, with better players around.
No, they might do. Yeah, they might do. He might be fine. He might be a superstar. I don't know. Prove me wrong. By all means, prove me wrong. I just think 40 million. I just didn't really understand the thinking behind the deal, other than he's available. He wants to go to Chelsea, so let's spend £40 million on him. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say my 2 that I think I wouldn't say turkeys, but 2 I think I wouldn't be surprised if the hype doesn't get fulfilled. One we've talked about, which is Jordan Sancho. He's just ever since. Is
that Jadon Sancho's brother?
Jadon Sancho. It's 4 years since he left
Yeah.
wherever he left and came to United for 74 million. 4 years ago, what's 74 million pounds worth now? He's just never done it. He's never done it in the Premier League. He's never been convincing in the Premier League. I don't think he's going to be particularly convincing for Villa. Watch the space, but I don't think I've got a feeling that's going to backfire. The other one I've just got a sneaking suspicion on is Alexander Isak. I've got a feeling that
Interesting.
by Christmas people are saying, "Well, he's no Etikite, is he?" Ekitike. He's no.
You're right. He isn't because he couldn't get his name.
He's decent, but he's no Ekitike. I think he's carrying an awful lot of weight, and there's going to be an awful lot of expectation on him. He's carrying a big bill. He's got a big ticket on his shoulder, and I just wonder that he doesn't quite do it for Liverpool in the same way he did it for Newcastle, and doesn't make quite the impact that everybody is expecting. You heard it here first, everyone. If, by the way, Liverpool sell him for 14 million to Tranmere Rovers in a year's time, you heard it here first.
That's a big shout, mate. That's a big shout.
Well, we shall see. That will bring it to a conclusion for today. We enjoyed that. That's been a great one. 26 minutes of absolutely Pulitzer Prize winning football punditry. I'm not neutral, obviously, but I think it was a pretty good one. What do you reckon, Nick?
As always, mate. Every day's a dream day.
Fantastic. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you have a lovely evening. Hope your teams, well, they won't be playing, but I hope they're bedding their new players in well.
My team's playing. I'm about to watch a game now. I'm literally about to watch a game which kicks off in 3 minutes' time.
Does it involve your son, by the way?
It involves my son playing soccer in America, and this game's about to start. So I'm going to go and watch that.
Literally, you can watch it and go, "Come on, my son," and actually,
I can.
It is actually true.
I mean it.
I mean it. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you again tomorrow. That's been the Daily Premier League podcast from Global Sports Podcast Network. See you all tomorrow.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.